Love is the strongest magnetic force in the universe. Each time we choose love, we enjoy life more. Each time we choose love, we enhance the quality of our life. Each time we choose love, life seems brighter and clearer. Love heals. Love soothes. Love elevates. Love forgives. Love gives us hope. Love brings us joy and abundance. Love makes us grow. Love feels good. Love makes life colorful. We are all here to learn about love, to love yourself more, and therefore others. Real love is selfless and free from fear. It's joy in the pain. Love more. Love is the thing that makes all things beautiful. Speaking of love,
what an incredible way to honor her father and help others heal from the loss of a loved one due to suicide.
Welcome to Speaking of Love, the podcast, and I am your host, Latoya. I created this podcast in honor of my dad, who was an amazing guy. He had an infectious laugh, and his spirit was magnetic. He was the type of guy who made everybody feel like somebody special. If you were to place him in a crowded room of 100 people, my dad would be the smartest person in the entire room. He was an award-winning radio TV broadcast engineer for many years. Born and raised in the city of Detroit, he was one of the first to go to college in his family. And while attending Wayne State University, he developed a lifelong love affair with the game of basketball. He was the shortest point guard on the team, but he could slam dunk the basketball with either hand. By all outward appearances, my dad lived a rewarding life, but there were parts of him that were known to only him. On March 2nd of 2020, my dad's private struggles became public when he took his own life in a murder-suicide. When he died, a part of me died too. And since the tragedy, I have become an advocate for mental health awareness and suicide prevention. I also created this beautiful podcast in honor of my dad and others like him who are struggling with the effects of mental health challenges. My podcast, Speaking of Love, is named after a show my dad once hosted called Speaking of Sports. Thank you for taking the time to be here with me today as we take a journey in pursuit of the strongest magnetic force on the planet Earth, and that's love. My name is Latoya Bond, and I have a podcast called Speaking of Love. My podcast is dedicated to the memory of my dad who took his own life in a murder-suicide. Aside from that, I am a business owner. I have a home-based business. I am also a legal professional during my 9-to-5 day. And I am a person who operates her entire life on the premise of spreading love. It's the secret to my success. It's the secret to my longevity on this earth, and it's what keeps us going because love is the thing that makes all things beautiful. So that's why I'm here today to talk about my favorite subject in the whole wide world, and that's love. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Speaking of Love, the podcast. I am your host, Latoya, and it is an honor and a pleasure to be here today. I have an amazing young lady here. Her name is Amanda Sung, and she is a Taiwanese-Canadian writer who crafts her stories from the inside out. Her work isn't just imagined, it's lived, with each character carrying a piece of her, infused with the hard-worn wisdom of a childhood spent navigating displacement and an adulthood forged by survival. Amanda holds a bachelor's in communication and a master of journalism. She is also known as an empathetic leader with over 15 years experience in marketing and branding. Storytelling, one of her superpowers, is evident in number one best-selling book, How to Break a Girl, where she explores the complexities of an immigrant through the eyes of varied lenses. When she isn't writing, she can be seen at the gym or cocktail bars. She has also hosted segments of Novus TV, and she's also modeled for the Regent Hotel. Please help me in welcoming Amanda Sung. Welcome, Amanda.
Hi, thank you for having me, Latoya.
It is so nice to have you here, Amanda. You and I met here actually online. We both belong to a Facebook group for people who have lost a loved one to suicide and suicide prevention. So I do want to warn my audience today that we're going to be approaching the subject of suicide. And if that's something that's triggering for you, please be sure to take care of yourself because you come first. And if you need to step away at any moment, please feel free to do so. So, welcome again, Amanda, to Speaking of Love. You are my 149th guest here on the podcast. And you and I have been talking, and we're so excited about today's interview. We're going to talk about your amazing book. We're going to talk about all the wonderful things you're doing in your life. But right now, are you in Canada?
Yes, I am Vancouver, BC.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. What's the weather like there?
Well, Vancouver has a nickname called Raincouver. Even though it's not raining right now, it is quite gloomy. But hopefully, I will get some sun later on today.
That's wonderful. Wonderful. I love it. I like those dreary days. I'm glad that summer is coming to an end. I'm not a big fan of all the hot sun. So, Amanda, you are an amazing person. Let's talk about you. What was life like for you growing up as a young girl?
I was born in Taipei, Taiwan, and I actually have the same birthday as President Obama and Meghan Markle.
Wow. And what day is that?
August 4th.
August 4th. So you're a Leo.
Yes, I'm a Leo. A very typical one. Compared to my fellow birthday boy and girl, I am definitely underachieving, you know. um, According to my parents, my mother went to the temple every day praying for a baby to come before I was born, and then 2 years later, I came into this world. It was a challenging beginning. According to my mother, I mean, I obviously would not remember. Less than 2 days after I was brought back home from the hospital, I had a serious infection and would have actually just died at home had my mom not caught it early and rushed me to the hospital in time for surgery. I've actually told my mom many times in the past that I wish she had never given birth to me, given how I did not ask to be born. But of course, you know, like after decades of fighting really hard, right? Like against my depression and acts of self-harm, I don't think that anymore. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
And I thank my mom for having me, saving my life, for giving me the chance to write my book, right? I mean, and hopefully make an impact on my readers.
Mm-hmm.
Even though apparently because of that surgery, I now have a scar right on my bikini line.
So talk about what surgery are you speaking of?
um, it was an infection just near my bikini line, and then at the time they just had to open it up and then stitches. So that's that's what happened. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, I see. So Amanda, you let's see, you had a very interesting early years here. And tell me about your work as an author. Now, you have written a book and the book is called How to Break a Girl. Talk to me about that book and the inspiration behind it.
Sure. This is the cover again.
And also,
Right.
I want to show the audience here that with this book that you've written, you have also reached #1 on Amazon here. So let's take a look at this. Now, is this the Kindle version of your book here that we're looking at, Amanda?
Yes, I believe on Amazon they actually have multiple categories. So, for example, like ebook would be one, and paperback would also be another one, and um, in different country the ranking will also be different. So the rankings that you're seeing right now, they have been on Amazon.ca because I'm Canadian.
Okay, okay, wonderful. So if anyone is interested, we'll talk more about the book here in a moment, but you can definitely check her out here on Amazon. So talk to us about this book, How to Break a Girl. What is the book about and what was the inspiration behind writing this book?
Oh, thank you for asking that question. It's my journey as an author started actually in childhood, like when I was really young. My mother would secretly like submit my poetry and my random short stories to local newspapers.
Oh,
And then yeah, to my surprise, like they would publish them. And then even like send me checks for my work. I often joke about how like I started a kind of living off my writing as early as the age of 8 with such a magical validation, right?
mhm.
Like to a young girl's voice, and now. And then fast forward to my master's program in journalism at University of British Columbia. We call it UBC. The program director at the time, Dr. Mary Lynn Young, encouraged me to channel my experience into a memoir for my master thesis. And now you might think, right, I was 23 years old, like what did I know about life? Well, I mean, I would like to think that I knew a bit. If anyone that's read my author bio, my thesis was actually about what it was like for me to grow up in Vancouver as what we call like a satellite child or like a parachute kid, and essentially raising myself and my baby sister without our parents. They pretty much just left the two of us alone months after we landed in Canada. Um, that the isolation and just not even knowing enough about the language at the time, and then search for belonging became the heartbeat of my inspiration. It's one of the reasons I wrote How to Break a Girl. I
Mhm.
wanted it to challenge, the taboos around mental health in Asian cultures. Hopefully, turning my past into inspiration for others, and we can heal
You
collectively.
know, that's something that you don't really hear speaking of very often is mental health challenges among Asian people.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
As far as I know, like ever since I was a child, I don't think the community ever quite believed in therapy. Uh, and mental health. I guess on this note, I will quote this line from the TV show Beef from Netflix. Ali Wong and Stephen Young was in it. I remember in that movie, um, Stephen Young's character actually said, therapy is for Western mind. It does not work for Eastern mind. And I'm, like, I mean, I think he definitely spoke about how a lot of members, especially the elders
Mhm.
in the Asian community, um, have felt. It's changing. It's getting a lot better. Like I myself have been going to therapy since I was 19 years old, and I know a lot of um, friends of mine who are Asian who have also been going. So I'm really happy to see that at least like our generation and younger generations will begin to break that cycle, like break that silence.
So where did the title come from? How to Break a Girl? What exactly is the meaning behind that title of your book?
Funny thing is, I actually had never thought about any other title. Like when I finished my master's thesis, I had this feeling that sounds like my thesis could probably be reimagined as a book at one point. And what would the title be? So like I had that title set in my mind basically at the age of 23. It was going to be How to Break a Girl, and I think what I was hoping for myself was no matter how cruel the world can be sometimes, like no matter how impossible, right, things can be at this very moment. But no matter what, they can never break the girl. They can never break me. And I'm really hoping that, like I could just share that thought, right, with anyone else that is feeling whatever that's happening to them is breaking them, has broken them.
Mm-hmm.
There's always a way to heal ourselves. Yeah, so that's the
So we're
sentiment.
we're coming off the brinks of Suicide Prevention Month. We're almost at the very end of the month, and this has been a very busy month for me, and I'm sure as much for you as well, Amanda. People who are working in the space of mental health really take a lot of time during the month of September to really acknowledge that suicide is an epidemic in our country and that we really need to focus on our mental health. How have you been impacted by suicide in your lifetime?
Well, my I wrote about this in my novel, and my thesis. Actually, my mother actually tried to take her own life when I was 16 years old. What happened was my father brought his mistress from Taiwan to our home in Vancouver. So the five of us were living together at the time. And my mother eventually agreed to the divorce. And and then she flew back to Taiwan. I don't even think I remember seeing her packing. I remember waking up in the morning, and then she was gone, and the mistress was telling me that oh, flights back to Asia is like are always like leaving at like what 1 a.m., 2 a.m. So then she just took off. And when she was in Taiwan, she apparently swallowed like a bottle of pills. I still remember the voice message that she left on my Nokia phone at the time. I mean, over the past decades, I gradually had forgotten most of what she said. Obviously, not all of it. Um, and I mean, I guess I don't know whether I was fate or I mean, I'm obviously very, very, very happy that the pills that she took expired, had long expired,
So she
and
survived. She
she
survived
survived. She
suicide.
survived, yes, but I mean, I don't reflect on how I felt at that age when I was listening to the voicemail often. Like I don't really kind of go back to that as much
Mhm.
as I probably should. But yeah, so that
So
was really
that
yeah.
definitely impacted you to know that your mom wanted to take her own life. And
Yeah.
here you are today as a mental health expert helping people. You've written books on the topic. It's a very serious topic. If someone is watching or listening right now, Amanda, and they are having thoughts of suicide, they're tired, they don't want to live anymore. The world is just too much for them to handle. What advice would you give that individual to just hang on a little bit longer? What would you say to them, Amanda?
I I want like I would want to say to them that I I know you must have heard about this many times, and I know that you're not, like gonna, I guess, have a lot of strength to really trust me on that, but it does get better. I want to say that I promise it does get that it does get better, but I know it's hard for the audience to hear that, and I mean, like I myself have struggled with self harm and suicidal thoughts pretty much all my life. And for me, therapy has been huge. Like my favorite therapist is actually in the book. And honestly, writing How to Break a Girl became this incredible, like therapeutic healing process. All the
Mhm.
pain, as awful as it was, it's given me this deep understanding of what a lot of people go through without a lot of us knowing. So I think it's very important to never assume, never judge, like why people are behaving this way. Be empathetic and be curious to ask why they're feeling this way, that they're saying this, or they trigger. Um, and yeah, and I just really hope that people can join this journey together to believe in ourselves, right? Because for me, I'm actually very grateful as of now to my former self for not never giving up, never giving up on me, so then I could be where I am today, hoping to just change someone's mind.
Sure.
Yeah. So,
And the most important thing too, when people are facing struggles and they're having those suicidal thoughts, the one thing, to be in a state of being suicidal, it's a very lonely state. And I think the first thing that we all also should do is let that individual know that they're not alone. And I've been in your shoes. I've walked that path with where you are right now, but there is hope. There is help. And so I want to let people know that here in the United States, because you're over in Canada, Amanda,
yeah.
but here in the United States, we have a hotline where you can call, just like 911.
Yeah.
There's now a line established, 988. You can dial 988. It's the suicide prevention hotline. And there are trained professionals there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they're there to help you. They may not be able to solve your crisis and your problem at that very moment, but they can take you by the hand, guide you along a pathway to get the help that you need. So please, if you feel suicidal, if you need someone to talk to, please dial 988. Get the help that you need, and just know that you are not alone. And please know that your purpose here on the planet Earth, it has a divine purpose. And we all go through struggles. We all go through tough times, but suicide is never the answer. It never is the answer. So thank you for that, Amanda. Thank you. So I want to move a little further in your interview. What do you love most about the work that you're doing as an author, a writer, an advocate for mental health? What do you love most about your work?
As of now, my rankings on Amazon. I'm just kidding.
You're making, yes, that's very important.
And on this note, at one point the novel actually did outrank, I think, the Crazy Rich Asians. I think a week ago. Anyway, yeah. However, anyway, on a serious note, I am just very grateful to every single reader who's picked up the book, right? Like, and without them, I really wouldn't have made it to top rankings. And yeah, I mean, like, I also really want to highlight on some of the collab that I am doing with my fellow Asian business women. I am trying to build this small but mighty community where we can support each other, and empower each other and spotlight each other's businesses and work. I am launching the website called howtobreakagirl.com in the next week or so, and will include samples and discount vouchers in the courtesy of these generous, amazing businesswomen. And yeah, so I really believe that this is our time, and I would love to help all of us shine.
Wonderful, Amanda. So if people want to reach out to you, Amanda, how would they do so? Is it through your website, amandasung.com?
Yes, yeah, that
Amanda?
is my personal site. Thank you so much.
Okay, yes, Amanda Sung. I'm going to put it here in the chatter. 1 second. AmandaSung.com.
Okay, perfect. So if any person is interested in connecting with Amanda, please go to her website at amandasong.com. You can also purchase her book, How to Break a Girl, on Amazon. That's the best way to reach out to her. So, Amanda, I have a question for you. On this podcast, speaking of love, the podcast is dedicated to the memory of my father. He took his own life, and he had a radio show many years ago called Speaking of Sports. So when he died, I wanted to do something special to honor him. And I wanted to create a public speaking platform because he loved public speaking, but I don't know anything about sports. However, I know all about love. So from his show, Speaking of Sports, I created this platform, Speaking of Love. And the $1 million question that I ask all of my guests who sit before me, Amanda, is how do you define love?
Well, love to me is taking a good look of the person in front of you, seeing them for who they are, the
Mhm.
good, the bad, and the messy, which I can be, and still made that conscious choice and decision of staying with them, being with them,
Mm,
for better or for worse. You know,
for
like
better.
yeah,
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. Sticking with them no matter what.
yeah.
Thank you, Amanda.
Yeah. I wrote about my favorite philosopher named Alan de Bottom in my book, and he talked a lot about how, um, like, love is what's going to help us achieve that compatibility. You know, that longevity of love. It's not the chemistry, right? All that. Yeah. So I just really want to remind a lot of uh, people nowadays, like if they still kind of um, want to, I guess, find that soulmate, the one, please do keep in mind that it takes time. It takes time, and whoever you're with, they're always gonna have flaws. And however, love is really to see them for who they are, love them even for their flaws, right? Because I often say, if someone is so perfect, what's there to love? Right? I mean, if someone is so perfect, what is there to love and embrace and work on together, right? And grow together. Yeah. So that's how I see love.
I love that. I love that. You know, Amanda, you are my 149th guest, and every single person has had a different definition for love. And
Yeah.
I really enjoy listening to the different philosophies and the different opinions about love. It's just, it really is it's eye awakening. And I really appreciate that. So, Amanda, before we conclude your interview, what do you have going? I understand there are some activities going on that
Uh,
you are participating in. So tell us
yeah.
what's next for you. What do you have coming up here soon?
Right. So yeah, there's a lot coming out, like, and for great cost too. For example, I'm in talks with Vancouver Public Library Foundation, hopefully for a book signing event. And when that does happen, I'll be donating some of the proceeds to their program supporting teenage girls. I often think about how, I guess, my life and my younger sister's life might have been, had we had more support for us when we were teenagers. I'm also planning another a book signing event with a friend of mine who owns a coffee shop in Vancouver, Richmond. It's called Fresh Pressed. If anybody on the show who happens to be local and would like to join me, feel free to follow me on my social media as well. On a related note, I am having my own book launch slash celebration party in Vancouver downtown. Yeah, and it's like if anybody that's watching and listening to this would like to join me, feel free to send me a DM. I mean, there is venue capacity, but there's always room for my readers.
Oh,
And yeah, and outside of my book business, I am enrolled full time in a counseling school. I'm pushing hard to get my credentials July next year. Writing How to Break a Girl has really opened my eyes to the gaps, right? The gaps in mental health support. And I'm sure it's not just in Canada. I'm sure it's the same in the US and many parts of the world. yeah, I've had a lot on my plate between studying and in my book. It's, it's intense, but I love it. And I do have to say that I think when we are on the path that we're meant to be on, like you are, right? Like the path that we're meant to be on, knowing that we're working towards our vision, uh, no matter how, I guess, how intense the workload is, it doesn't feel like, a burden. It actually feels that we're making a difference and that we're making a change.
Yes. And
Mm.
you are definitely achieving your intention. You are amazing. You have so many wonderful things going on, Amanda. And I just thank you. I really admire people who dedicate their lives to enhancing the lives of other people. That is so selfless and it's so beautiful and it's so impactful. Amanda, when the pages of your life are reviewed, what do you most want to be remembered for when your mission here on the planet Earth is over, it's complete?
Okay.
What do
Yeah.
you most want to be remembered for? What legacy are you leaving behind?
Mm. This question reminds me of this quote, bad in someone's story. I know I'm not perfect. I mean, nobody is, right? And that's why I said earlier that love is making that conscious choice of staying with that person, knowing that person is far from perfect. We've all been some sort of a villain in someone else's story at some point. I know I have been. It's all in my book. And I try not to use my PTSD and other conditions as an excuse, but I know I'm not a bad person, like in any shape or form. What I would really want to be remembered is how hard I've tried, like how I keep
Mhm.
getting back up, no matter how many times I feel there's just no way out.
Mm.
And I want people to remember that I have tried to like repurpose my pain to help break the silence around mental health. When, like we mentioned earlier, right? Like so many of us are taught to just keep quiet, not ask any questions, and that again, like my trauma, no matter how complex and how prolonged that they've been, it could never break the girl, just like it could never break anybody who is having a hard time right now. I
Right.
would also love to be remembered as someone who was authentic, who tried to advocate, like for the marginalized community, who's mentor others coming up behind me, someone who, right, stories that matter, someone who created space for others to feel safe and validated through my novel, and in the future, my practice as a therapist.
Wow. That's beautiful, Amanda.
Thank you. That's very sweet of you.
So much for being here. You have really just like brightened my day. I have been up all night thinking about this interview. I was so excited to meet with you today, and it's just been a pleasure. You are amazing.
Likewise, likewise. The pleasure
Yes,
is all mine.
yes. We have some comments here that I'm going to
Oh,
post
okay,
from our
nice.
viewers. We have people watching on Facebook, and we also have people watching on YouTube. So I'm going to post some of the comments here. There's someone here named E. Fiera Snow.
Oh,
She says, I'm so excited for your book launch celebration party. Thank you so much for
thank you
watching.
so much. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, if you're in town, DM me.
Yes, thank you. And then we have my fiance, he's watching. It says, I truly appreciate the inspiration that was shared today. Thank you, Keith,
Well,
for
congratulations, you two.
yes, thank you very much. We have Patsy Graham Walton here, and she says that's a powerful statement about love. When I asked you, how do you define love? She was responding to that. So
Thank you.
nice. And then let's see, who else do we have here? We have David M. watching. He says it is not uncommon in some Asian cultures to consider challenges with psycho-emotional wellness to be weakness and a
Mhm.
lack
Yeah,
of discipline. Ooh, yes, that's very powerful,
yeah,
David.
you're
Thank
right.
you for
Yeah,
sharing that
especially, yeah.
insight.
Yeah, I know. But
Yeah.
hey, no, getting help is never a weakness, right? I mean, it's a sign of just how courageous that you are, wanting to improve yourself, right? Doing that
Mhm.
inner work. So no, no, no. It's, yeah, I like I I'm really glad that I think the current generation, younger generations are starting to actually know more of that too.
Yes. And Amanda, that's why I thought it would be so important to have you here, because you're my 149th guest, but I have yet to interview someone from an Asian culture. So you're my
Oh,
first. You are
okay.
the first. Yes. So thank you for
Oh,
bringing
thank you. Thank you. So
your.
glad that I could represent.
Yes,
And I
yes.
hope I've done a good job, to my fellow Asian community members.
Yes, yes, definitely. And we have Michelle McClendon. She is a good friend of mine. She just simply says amen. She agrees with us. And then also Miss Snow was when she first came saying hello. Hi.
Hi.
So this will conclude our podcast interview with Miss Amanda Sung from Canada.
Yeah.
Amanda, do you have anything else that you would like to share with the audience before we conclude the interview?
Yes, I'm actually making plans to do a mini book tour to Seattle, the Bay Area, where I used to live, and that's also written extensively in the book, and Greater Los Angeles. Yeah, so I mean, I'm looking at mid-November. I will for sure share all the details on my website, ametasang.com, and my social media. Like, I really hope that there's a chance that I could get to know with, like some of my American readers.
Yes, that would be beautiful. And congratulations on that. That's
Thank
tremendous.
you.
We have one last comment here from Ruvolution Co. And their comment is such a great book by a wonderful woman. And
Well,
I totally
thank
agree
you.
with them. Yes. So thank you for being here. AmandaSung.com is her website. Please check her out. Please support her. Go to Amazon, purchase her book, How to Break a Girl. And this will bring our 149th episode of Speaking of Love to a conclusion. It's been an honor and a privilege. Amanda Sung, I bow to your
Thank
excellence.
you.
Bow to your excellence. Keep up the great work. I'm so happy. And hopefully I can have you back on maybe in about a
Yeah.
year from now so that we can do an update and find out what you have been doing. So thank you all so
Yes. Thank
much.
you so much. Yeah.
If anyone has missed any portion of this recording, this podcast episode will be available on all podcast platforms. So wherever you choose to listen to your podcast, Speaking of Love is there. We're also going to be live. This is going to live on YouTube forever, hopefully. And then we're also live on Facebook. So you can find us on multiple platforms. But I thank you all for being here. And I will be back next month for my 150th episode of Speaking of Love. So I'll see you all in 1 month. And I hope that everyone will take care of themselves, take care of your life, do the best that you can, and just know that you are loved. Have a great week, everyone.